Let's see. We'll watch everything pop up here. There we go. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you good.
Good. All right. I'm going to watch this over here on the other side. For some reason, the new StreamYard stuff won't let me see who's commenting on a lot of it. So,
How?
oh, hold on. All right, hold on. I'm gonna watch this over on the other side. For some reason, the new stream. Shut up. Let me see who's commenting on a lot of it.
Just
Well,
hearing yourself talk in the background.
hell with it. It just happens. All right, let me get this thing started. We'll let it go. Let everything get all primed up here. Everybody's coming on if they want to watch.
All right.
Let's see. MP3. Hell, I haven't played this intro for a hot minute.
We love shooting, hunting, and educating. So if you want to learn about long-range shooting, you're in the right place. This is the Long Range Addicts Podcast. Shooter ready, stand by.
All right, we're back. It's been a while. I apologize. It's been a shit show. We did go to SHOT Show, same difference. It was really good, but we're happy to be back. We're excited to be back. Of course, we're here because of our great sponsors. First off, Primary Arms. Primary Arms has so much shit anymore. Everybody thought, hey, they're the optics company. They've got all these optics. They've got everything going. But so much more is on there now between um, body armor and everything else they've got. So go check out Primary Arms. Of course, Falcor Defense. They've sponsored the show. We got to play with their new stock, the Rock chassis, some of the other stuff down there. We're going to talk about that today's show. And then, of course, Long Range Tactics. The place to kind of go weed through the bullshit that is long range shooting. That everybody, these quote unquote typer snipers, are everywhere. They're hiding in the freaking weeds in their mom's basement in their underwear. So be careful. That's why we created Long Range Tactics, try and put out some good knowledge. Anyway, what's up, my brother Jonathan Slinsky's joining me today. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Can't complain too much. Recovered from SHOT Show. I did not get the SHOT Show crud or showvid. Was that what you coined it as? Showvid?
Yeah, we call it Shovid, and I got it. My
Showvid.
ass has been kicked. I've been asleep under my desk for the last couple days.
Nice. I've escaped it for 3 years. I've never gotten the SHOT Show crud. So
Dude,
hopefully I keep up that track record.
I tried to like help myself. I took the vitamin C things, the little gummies. I've tried everything to try and keep it out. And maybe that's the problem is I tried too hard and it just came back to haunt me. It was probably all those handrails that everybody was saying I was licking. A funny story though is so Karsten at Boring, he was telling me a story. He goes, they were betting each other. Him and a couple buddies were in Mesquite or in Vegas a while back, and they were betting each other that they wouldn't lick a certain handrail, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, Buddy did it. Next thing you know is a week later, his buddy calls him. Apparently, he was in the hospital for an entire week. Whatever in the hell was on that particular handrail almost freaking killed him. And I'm like, you guys are idiots. Why would you lick a freaking handrail? It's like that weird ass lady that is all over TikTok or whatever that goes around and licks toilet seats. Have you seen that shit?
No, I haven't. That's fucking gross.
My hell. Like, what is up with people? It
I mean, if
ain't
it was pre-COVID, that's disgusting. But I mean, during COVID, they're wiping all that shit down all the time now. It's like the only good thing about COVID is businesses are actually sanitary.
yeah, some of them. Some of them are still nasty as hell. Anyway, we had a good time at SHOT. We were down there. I went down early. There's an invitation only, like military law enforcement range day, where you get to talk to SWAT guys, NSW.
Oh, your mic giving a ton of feedback right now.
Is it still
Sounds
doing
like a robot.
Still doing it? What the heck? Let me. Is that better?
Mm-mm.
Still there? Of course, my audio is always jacked up. What's going on? Huh. Still there?
Yeah, it's still real bad.
What the heck's going on? Yeah, because I can't hear it on my end. Ghost said he can hear it. What's up, Ghost? How you doing, buddy? Can you hear that, Ghost? Does it sound like shit on your end? Or is it Jonathan's freaking been watching shit on his damn phone again, putting viruses on it?
Probably. Oh, there you go. Now it's kind of cleared up.
It's probably your damn service.
Oh.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, now it's solid.
What the hell? Yeah, Ghost, that sounds good. What's up, buddy? How you doing?
Oh, maybe it was just on my end.
Yeah, it probably was. I've seen your service. It sucks. Anyway, so I was attending this range day, right? Naval Special Warfare guys, SWAT guys, guys that want to come out and kind of go off to the side and see some stuff. Met a lot of good people there. There wasn't a lot of people at demo stuff this year. It just kind of was one of those things like it costs so much to demo at some of that stuff. And I found out, I don't know, it's probably a week ago that like if you were to go to SHOT Show range day and you had a booth, the average booth's like $7,500 for a few hours just to go, have some influencers check out your shit at SHOT Show. And it was completely wild to me. It's like, how do some of these companies, I mean, I guess, if you've got some good influencers walk by and see your stuff, then that's one thing. But the cool thing about the military and law enforcement range I went to is they don't charge you. They just want you to come show, local law enforcement. So we went out, we showed them Fix the Sticks. We showed them, we showed them Phone Scope, Predator Armor, all the companies that, of course, we represent. But it was really good. Got to meet a few people, had a good time. And that started it all off on Monday. Of course, SHOT Show starts on Tuesday. You flew in on Monday, right?
Yeah, I flew in Monday evening.
We had a good time, went and met some people, hung out, relaxed. I did find out that I probably need to stay at TI so we don't have to my wife chewed my freaking butt just for Uber charges running around Vegas. It's ridiculous. Them guys, freaking Uber. Anyway, it's probably where I got this, a damn Uber. It was probably that, oh, you didn't ride with us. There was one dude that had the inside of his car plasticed. Like he'd plastic the whole roof of it and plasticed in between us. And then when he'd stop at lights, he'd put it in park and then just sit there. It was, I don't know how these people, how Uber decides who drives for them, but I was kind of a little bit scared. Like, I'm just waiting for this guy to throw it in reverse or something and hit somebody. But
I've had a couple that have plaster-walled off since COVID started, and we had one. Me and my wife were flying out of Newark, and we went to dinner. And this was right after all the lockdowns. I think this was September of 2020, and we went to Dominican Republic. And this dude had this hack job plasta thing, separating the driver from the rest of the compartment. And he had one of those vents you get at Home Depot, the silver collapsible ones going from one vent to the back, and it was all duct taped off. It literally looked like he was going to stab us in the back of his car.
It looked like something. What is that? What's a serial killer? What the
Dexter?
Hell is Dexter. Yeah, it was Dexter.
Yeah, it was something straight out of Dexter.
Dexter your ass. Yeah, in Puerto Rico, no matter. They'll never find your ass. You'll be out in the middle of the ocean somewhere being crab food. We all know how that goes. Anyway, back on track. We always get off track. So if you've got anything, of course, while we're talking, hit us up in the comments. We are watching them. We'll try and respond. Or if you've got questions about SHOT of something you saw, maybe we saw it, maybe we didn't, maybe we can talk about it. But I want to talk about what's one thing that really got your attention up front. And I know, well, let's go to that Primos, the shooting, the triggered tripod. You did the video on it. I was at 24,000 views already. Kind of crazy.
Yeah, I think we were at 29,000 views on that video now. Yeah, so that thing was pretty cool. It's essentially a larger version of their older products. They've had a trigger activated tripod forever, but the legs on that tripod were more like dowel rods than tripod legs. It was meant for super lightweight for hunters and stuff like that. And then it had a non-replaceable V rifle holder on top. So the new ones, an actual like full-on carbon fiber tripod, actual tripod legs that we're all used to seeing, not the oversized ones that have kind of come out in the last year, but your standard tripod legs. And then it's got a standard tripod, what do you call it, mount on top. And so they've got their own version of like a hog saddle or a rifle clamp on top. Construction of that looks a little bit flimsy. It looks like it's just injection molded plastic with some rubber on the inside. So I'm not sure how much that's going to actually hold up. But it's replaceable. So because they've got a standard mount, you could put your own ball head on it. You could put an arco head on it. You could do whatever you wanted on top of it. And then it trigger activates just like everything else they do. But different from some of their other bipods and tripods and shooting sticks is the trigger is actually underneath the head instead of like underneath the legs. It's in between all three legs instead of on top. So it's out of the way. You're not going to be on this like foot tall center column over top of all three legs. You're going to be sitting right on top of it with your rifle. So that was kind of cool. It activates the first section of all three legs simultaneously. So the bottom section works like standard tripod legs. You got to unlock them, put them down to the height you want, and then lock them. And then that top section, as long as they're unlocked, you hit the trigger and you adjust all three legs at the same time, which is great for competition shooting because tripods have to be deployed on the clock. So now I've only got to deploy 3 sections essentially instead of 6. I deploy the bottom sections to the max length, and then I just hit the trigger and do the top sections. And I don't even have to lock those legs down. So that was kind of cool from the competition side. I think it's going to be pretty cool for the hunting side as well. Because if you're sitting on a hilltop looking for elk or something long range, and they could be coming out at the bottom of the valley, or they could be coming out on another hilltop across from you, or they could be coming out around another finger, and you don't know exactly which elevation you're going to be at. You're not just sitting on the edge of a field hunting hogs. Having that quick adjustment could be huge, especially since it's adjusting the tripod. You could do the same thing with a ball head, but that sometimes puts your rifle at a weird angle where now you're no longer sitting where you want to sit because you have to pivot everything from here. And so now you do that. Now I've got to get my shoulder way down here to be able to take the shot with a ball head. But with adjusting the whole tripod, I can kind of shift everything to match my position a little bit faster, a little bit easier, and a lot quieter.
Yeah, and that's the thing is everybody's like, well, I don't know if it'll work for competition. Here's the biggest thing, right? Is a lot of our competition guns, they're 20 plus pounds, 20 something pounds, right? And a lot of like these NRL hunter guns, the lightweight guns, they're going to be just fine, you know, and you're pretty much the only thing it's doing is holding up, and you're still going to mitigate the recoil coming back.
Yeah.
But you're right. I mean, that's been one of the biggest issues, especially like on a triple leg bipod or tripod. You've got to screw with all freaking 3, collets to try and get it right, especially when you're slower like me. You know, that's been my biggest issue over the years, is trying to get it set up. Now you can go down to one knee, do all that, and that's super fast. And I'm excited to I think, I'm a tripod whore when it comes down to it. I think I better get one just to have and see how fast it is, because we all are, it's all about speed, especially in a hunting scenario where you're like, shit, I need to hurry and make this shot. But you don't have time to set the gun down, screw with everything, and this is going to make it super simple. So that was definitely a good find for that one. How much did it weigh? Do you remember?
6.4, 6.5 pounds, I think is what he said.
What does the average tripod weigh? Do you remember?
I'm not sure. I can't think that that's very heavy. I mean, it's not the lightest tripod on the market, that's for sure. My Field Optics research definitely weighs more than that, and that's a carbon tripod, mainly because the head that they've got on the one I have, the Mil 32, is pretty hefty. But the weight rating on it's not going to be as high. Like, I know Field Optics Research and some of the other ones have like put out videos of people hanging from it and shit. That is not what they're going for. I think he said the weight limit on it's going to be like 40 to 50 pounds, which will work for everything we need it to. I'm not going to be sitting on it.
Right.
But the price point's also a lot lower. So their MSRP is looking at $499, which means retail is probably going to be a little bit less than that, as it typically is. But I mean, that's half the price of most of the other high-end carbon tripods on the market. The only one that I know of that's cheaper is the Bog, which is a good entry-level tripod, but you get what you pay for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Ghost said he's looking for a right tripod, letting glass off of. Now, I guess it all depends. What are you using it for? You just throw it on the pack and doing that? There are some really small, lightweight tripods, but most people, don't have the money to go out and buy 4 or 5 freaking giant ass tripods. What we've really found at LRT that we really like is Two Vets, Daniel McNamee.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the things we get behind nowadays is the people, and then the products just kind of fall into it. So Two Vets tripods definitely one of those that I would recommend. I apologize for my nose. I'm all still congested from the COVID bullshit, but Daniel's a good dude, ex-Marine, so he's right up your alley, Ghost. And that way you can utilize it for both, and they aren't that heavy. He's got a couple lighter weight versions that would be phenomenal for what you're trying to do. Going back, Brittany, she worked for AG. Damn well we all love freaking AG Composites. We've had them on the show a couple times. They did just release another stock that I'm super impressed with. I might have to have another build come up this way. I think I've got another 300 Win Mag build I need to have one for. We always try to build shit around stuff we like, but hopefully that answered your question, Ghost. So go check out Two Vets, Daniel. I think he does have some military discounts, and then if you want me to connect you to him, just reach out and you got my information and I can connect you to Daniel. I did it to a couple guys today. What else did we see we really liked? Let's go to Falcor.
So they've got their new chassis system coming out. That was pretty cool. Sat there and talked to those guys for a little bit about that new chassis.
The Rock. Yep. I just got that one. Super freaking love that chassis. It's probably one of my new favorite chassis. I have a lot of chassis. And it's not because they sponsor the show. Don't look at this because of that. That chassis really is legit. It's got a little bit of great things of everything out of it. And that's the hardest part about building a chassis right now is they almost all look freaking identical to each other because they all have to have ARCA. They've all got to have M-Lock. They've blah, blah, blah. They all look about the same. So there's definitely some similarities from it, but the feel of the chassis, the ability to make it longer or shorter in the fore end, the way that the shooter engages with the trigger pull and everything else, it's a phenomenal chassis. And then they have their new stock. There's not a whole lot out about it. If you look down the post a little bit on the Long Range Addicts podcast page, we did a short video with the stock. That new bottom metal is pretty sweet. I've explained that to some people. And they're like, why didn't anybody think of that earlier? Going from a BDL to a DBM real quick, with the hinge foreplate, pull 2 pins. It's not a hinge foreplate anymore, and you put one of the mags in it, and that becomes a DBM. So it's a pretty sweet system that they've thought through. Like a lot of companies in the tactical space, Falcor's trying to move into that lightweight hunting game, which seems to be getting, blowing up huge, it seems like. What else at Falcor do you like?
So they've got their actions. Their actions have a couple of cool features, and how their action and bolt assemblies work are kind of cool. A little bit different than how everybody else does them, especially for the guys that like to hand load hot loads. They've got a bunch of safety features built into theirs that are a little bit better than your standard custom actions in terms of jet ports. If you end up loading something too hot, or as we've all seen the videos of somebody who puts pistol powder in a rifle cartridge and sends a bolt through their face. Some stuff that can be mitigated with their action because of those gas ports that they've got built in for when stuff goes wrong.
Does have a lot of people look for that, the integral rail type thing. They've got that. They've even got the wedge to help you line up your scopes. You don't have to utilize a leveling. They've just got a lot of great things built into it. So check those out. I think there's the MT7, which they're trying to build into their lightweight, and then the actual 7 action, which is the one I have. And it's for, competition, stuff like that. I'm building one up, and I'm going to make it filthy and see how good it runs and handles, because that's one of those things. I want to go off on a little bit tangent right now. I keep seeing these freaking videos of people running a brand new action, running the bolt back and forth as they tip it, right? And ooh, how smooth this action is and everything. But a lot of actions are like that because a lot of them are DLC coded, right? A lot of the actions, once they get a little bit of dust in it, especially like this Utah moon dust that the people that got in my match, Some of this dirt and dust from around the country, soon as that hits some of those actions, they turn into complete garbage, and I wouldn't use it for a handyman jack handle. Think about that when you're watching those videos. Now, I'm going to do a couple videos here. I'm going to just thoroughly freaking abuse a couple actions and show you what I mean on one of my next LRT things. It's going to make people cry, I'm sure, but I don't care because I want people to understand that. That's one reason why I absolutely love impact actions, because I've got one in my safe right now that is absolutely filthy. I refuse to clean it just because I want to show everybody how badass that freaking action is. And everyone's like, holy hell, how much dirt is in that thing? And it's still running like crazy, right? So it's super sweet. But anyway,
and that's a good point. I mean, I remember talking to the guys up at, where was it at? I did the Sniper's High, Sniper's High challenge or finale or whatever it was. One of his matches. We were down at, I think it was Mile High Shoot or Shooters Only. We were at Shooters or Rifles Only. That was it. We were at Rifles Only, and he was telling us how one of his first like big national matches he did, he made everybody do sugar cookies 3 stages in. And what a sugar cookie is essentially they spray you down with a hose and you roll around in the dirt. And that was how you started one of the stages. And the whole reason that he did it was because people were showing up with these blueprinted, true custom actions that the tolerances were perfect. And as soon as you got any dust, carbon, anything outside of the chamber, the action stopped working properly. And so he purposefully induced some of that to kind of show, like when you're hunting or in a tactical environment or in an environment where you're actually using a rifle for its intended purpose, which is not to make steel make noise. They aren't going to be clean, and they aren't going to be perfectly lubed, and they aren't going to be perfect. And so they still need to be able to function in that environment. None of your bench rest rifles can, because they're not intended for it. But PRS rifles should be, because you are out in the field. And if you've got an action that can't get dirty, otherwise it's not going to run, or it's going to jam up, or going to have failed feeds or whatever, like that's a huge issue.
Yeah. And I just want to take a bunch of dirt and throw it in a couple actions and show everybody the difference, because there's a huge difference. There are a lot of people that message me and they're like, shit, I just bought this custom action. I thought it was awesome and it got dirty and now I can't run the freaking thing. And a lot of them have taken their tolerances and opened them up a little bit, understanding that they don't need to be that tight. But yeah, that's one of those things that you're going to learn the hard way. Kind of look more into it than just watching somebody move in action look so sexy. Speaking of that, let's talk about, was the Aero Precision that came out with that new bolt action rifle? Do you want to explain to us? I in my mind, I've got it in my head, but I want to see if we're on the same page. Explain to me what you got out of their whole bolt action.
So I didn't get a whole lot of time on it because some other influencer with more followers than we did showed up and was trying to do a video. So we kind of got pushed to the side. But I did get a little bit of hands-on time with it. I think it's going to fall in line with the rest of Aero's products, which is okay. They definitely don't have top-of-the-line products, but they're not bottom of the barrel either. They'll function. They'll do what they need to. I think their price point is going to be a little bit high. The guy initially told us sub 1,000 for the action and sub 1,000 for the chassis. I've heard since then that other people were told 1,000 for the action and 1,200 for the chassis. So we'll see what their actual price point is. If they can keep it under $1,000, I think it won't be terrible. My first thought of feedback was they need to DLC coat the boat. DLC coat. Oh my God, I can't speak English right now. Coat the bolt. Oh my God. Because there was a little bit of that sandpapery feel, and I think it was just the finish that they had on it, and that'll go away as you break it into. But for $1,000 action, I mean, DLC coating just one part costs, especially on that kind of a scale, it's going to cost them $40 to $60. So I think it would be worth it, and it would make them feel like the action itself would feel like some of those higher end actions, even though it's going to end up being, I think, a mass produced action, kind of like the rest of their stuff. Which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's good to have one of those products that entry-level shooters can get into without dropping $1,300, $1,400 on just the action, and then still needing a whole bunch of work done. If they can get a barreled action for $1,200 from Arrow, that's a pretty good deal.
Yeah, and in my opinion, it did not feel like a freaking $1,000 action. There's too many actions out there that are sub.
Yeah.
There's the Kelbleys. There's so many actions out there now that are sub. To me, honestly, the look and the feel felt a lot like a cheap Tika.
Yep.
Yeah,
their look was very Tika-ish.
And I think that it might be in the same line. And don't take us on bashing this action, because we're not, because we know everything that comes out starts at a certain point, and if the company's worth a shit, or it'll grow, it'll get better, right? So we're not bashing Arrow at all. We're just saying the original one that they released at SHOT Show felt shitty. And I'm sure there'll be other things, but the difference between what Arrow's trying to do is they're trying to make this this rifle action essentially like an AR, right? So it's pretty much like a Savage or a Remage. Comes with a nut. You install your own barrel on it. You time it. You do all that stuff. So initially, you're buying the action, but you're saving the time on having a gunsmith completely fit and do everything to the action. Supposedly, it's 100% true. Everything's really freaking squared away with it. We'll see how they go. How everything comes out. We'll see.
And that was a 700 footprint, correct?
Yeah, they said it was. Yeah. So the upper part of it looked a lot like a Tika, but they did say it was a 700 footprint. As long, it's got kind of the Tika bolt knob look. I wish we would have got more pictures of it. We did have. You'd think we would have, being a media company type thing, but it's just shit. I don't know. It was just how Facebook. It's just how SHOT Show was this year. There wasn't a lot of people. It was nicer to walk around. We got a lot more things done. But yeah, that was one of those. We did see the Arrow Precision bolt action rifle. We'll see if we can get one to review. We did get the guy's number, so maybe
it'll be interesting to see what their next version are, because like you said, a company's first run of a new product, there's always going to be issues. Doesn't matter the industry, doesn't matter the product. I mean, Tesla was lighting cars on fire, their first gens, and they were out in general use in the public and shit was happening. It doesn't matter the industry. But what's exciting about Arrow getting into it, I think, is because of what their market is with ARs and what they've become with the AR. If they can become that for the bolt gun, it'll push quality control a lot further, because they'll have a very, very solid mid to bottom of the high tier product for a lower price point. So it opens up those barriers for entry for some of those less fortunate shooters that don't have as much expendable income. Where right now it's either you're running a Remington 700 that was $300 and the new Remington's right, or you're going full custom, and especially if you want to stand up your 700 footprint, you're going full custom at over $1,000 $1,000 an action. And so there's really nothing in between. It's either bottom of the barrel or go custom, or you go out of Remington 700, which is fine unless you have Remington 700 parts sitting at home. If you're trying to upgrade a current stock and a current trigger and put it in a better action, you don't want to go Tika. You don't want to go any of those others that now you have to replace everything.
Right. And I agree with you. It's interesting where people come in with their price points as well, right? It seems like there is a big gap between the guys and gals that can afford the $3,000 to $6,000 rifle, and then there's a gap in there, right? Like $24.99 is a stretch for some people. Most people like to be in that $24.99 with an optic, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of one of those things that it could fill a space, especially where it's a 700 footprint. I guess we'll see. It's just one of those things that'll get going. Hell, I'm just trying to look through some.
But even then, they're not going to be able to reach that $24.99 price point with an optic, because their action and chassis are already at $2,000. So unless you're putting a bottom of the barrel optic on it, you're still going to be past that $2,500 mark.
Right. Yeah, you're right.
And that's not with a trigger either.
Yeah, and at what point do you just suck your freaking gut up and go with like that MPABA comp or a
Mhm.
boring invitation or or a GA Precision, at $24.99 where they're completely custom. Here's the thing: is I don't see a lot of people. You got that at first. Like a lot of people talked about how badass the Remage style stuff was because they were going to swap stuff out.
Mhm.
But of the people that, I have multiple actions that I can swap barrels out easily, but I don't. Because once I get that thing dialed in, I don't want to take it apart. I don't want to mess
Yeah.
with it. I don't want to have to do anything. So at what point do you get the complete custom with the guarantee that's got all the, that's been here forever, that runs like a rape tape? I don't know. I guess that's everybody's choice of what you're going to do, when that comes, when that
Yeah.
time
I think
comes.
people like the option to do it, but most people don't actually ever do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
The
Some
only
people
time I've seen,
do, but I don't.
yeah, the only time I've seen people like and I do it consistently do a quick change is ARs, swapping out the uppers. I have two uppers or two lowers and like 7 uppers for
Mhm.
my ARs because it doesn't matter at that point. They retain 0. I can swap calipers in between, but that's different with a bolt gun. Now I've got to go re-zero everything, and I've got to um, retrue everything, and so I'm not going to swap, even if it is a quick change system. I'm not just going to go and swap it out. There's no reason to do it,
But
especially when you look at like Desert Tech and a new barrel change system is as much as a new rifle. I'll just go buy a new rifle.
yeah, and that's the thing with your ARs. I mean, I've got multiple ARs. I've got an upper sitting back here, and I leave the optics on them.
Mm-hmm.
And some people can't. Some people have to use, a quick chain system to change their optics off. But that's completely different. I'm talking about going from, some of them have a bolt change to where you can go from a short action 308 to a short
Yeah.
action Magnum, blah blah blah, all that stuff. But I don't know if this new action will do that. But I don't know. Anyway, moving on. What else did we see at SHOT? I'm trying to rack my brain about new stuff. SHOT lately has just kind of been, in my opinion, like, oh look, another AR company. Oh look,
Yep.
another
Another suppressor company.
another soft goods company. That kind of shit. And I don't know. It's one of those things. But I mean, we did see a couple decent things come
Yeah.
out. What else did you
Um,
see that you like?
There was the new Zero Delta modular pistol. So they've had the modular pistol for a while, but they've kind of expanded upon their original idea. They've updated it to the Glock Gen 5 instead of Gen 3. And it's not specifically long range yet, but they do have plans for that in the coming year. So we did put out a video on it, and actually that video dropped to YouTube, I think, today. So essentially, it's a modular Glock, completely toolless disassembly for everything down to the front strap, back strap, dust cover. It comes with multiple dust covers, back strap, mag wells, and front straps. And it comes in at a good price point. I mean, a complete pistol is $599, which I spent more than that on my H&K VP9, and it didn't come with anything except some extra back straps. But I can't switch out the mag well or any of that shit. But the nice thing about their new design is they've actually got an AR-15. What do they call it? The PDU. You'd have to go look at the video. I don't remember the exact acronym, but essentially it's an AR-15 upper and lower that's missing the fire control group. And so you take your pistol fire control group from their version of a Glock and you insert it into this lower that they've developed, which can take any mil-spec AR-15 upper, and that becomes your rifle or pistol or whatever you determine that it is. But the nice thing about it is their PCUs aren't firearms because they have no fire control group. So you have one serial number that's on the pistol, and then you could have essentially what we do with ARs. You have multiple uppers. Well, in this case, you're going to have multiple complete builds that all function off the same trigger assembly or trigger and grip assembly of their modular pistol system. So what's cool about that is it's not a big deal for what we're dealing with in the US right now, could be in the future, but you get a lot of our neighboring countries, allies, and stuff like that. Their gun laws state they can only have so many firearms. So a cool thing about it is it still only counts as one firearm. They can have their pistol, they can have an AR-15. They're planning on releasing an AR-10 variant and a shotgun variant this year, and possibly a pistol caliber carbine variant this year or next year. that'll all work off the same trigger assembly. So now you've essentially got 5 or 6 completely different firearms with completely different functions, all based off one serial number. So if it ever gets to that terrible, terrible point where they are limiting, most of us are screwed if they get to that point.
There's going to be a boating accident for sure.
My house is going to have to burn down. But it is kind of a cool feature, which is part of the reason for the design, is from what Eli was saying when I was talking to him, was that they're trying to develop something that kind of caters to those people that don't want multiple firearms and multiple background checks and multiple of everything. They just get the one, and then they just buy the parts.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of fits in this nice loophole of all the rules.
I may or may not have placed an order for a couple of them when I was talking to them.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And just in general, just from the pistol aspect too, regardless of the rifle and their future plans for it, the pistol aspect's really cool that it comes with all the parts. So I think he said just the frame, if you have a Glock slide and everything and trigger already, just the frame's like $199. And it comes with 3 different size mag wells, 3 different size dust covers, all the different front straps and back straps and all this shit. Where that's a pretty good value, actually. I mean, shit, half the pistols I have, a new magwell form's $100.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
And that's one. And this comes with 3, or it comes with 4. It comes with the standard and then 3 flared magwells of varying sizes. So definitely check out our video that we put out for that one. But that's a pretty cool concept. Again, not long range specific yet, but hopefully will be in the next 12 months.
Yeah. And so they sent me their catalog today, 0 Delta USO, blah, blah, blah. I didn't realize they had an AR-10 line. I've never seen it. That comes in 6.5 Creed, 6 Creed, 260, and 308. And they're a good looking setup, good looking rifle. I'm going to have to put in a request to try and review one. I want to shoot the hell out of one of them. And then I won somehow. I don't know how. The stars aligned. I won one of their 0 Delta kits. The cool thing about, I paid her off later. There was these ARs 0 Delta comes out with are extremely, price conscious. The cool thing about them is they come with the 0 Delta mount and the US optic already bore sighted for the AR. They have a 6.5 Grendel version that looks freaking sweet. And then they've got a bunch of 5.56 versions and stuff like that. So that was one cool thing that we did check out at 0 Delta. Unbranded AR is the name of. So there's 3 companies together. There's 0 Delta, Unbranded AR, and US Optics. All 3 of them are together. Great stuff. I got the tracking label today that my AR is on the way, so I'll do a review when it comes. We'll shoot it and blow some stuff up. The only problem is it's a 14.5-inch pin, so now I can't freaking suppress it. I'm gonna have to figure out how to get that off. I love suppressed. It makes me all warm and fuzzy. It makes my ears feel good too because I can't hear anything. Freaking deaf. Ask my wife. Anyway, so what else did we see? So we saw the 0 Delta stuff. We stopped by Daniel Defense, checked out their stuff. Of course, they've always got quality shit. We did stop and see Daniel for a second. 2 Vets Tripod. He was there. What else? What am I missing?
So Accuracy International is coming out with a couple new chassis this year. I think we put pictures up in the story about it. Because there were some comments about one of them being 3D printed because it's still in prototyping phase. But they are doing a deal with Anschutz this year, and they will be releasing an Anschutz Repeater in a Accuracy International chassis for the 22 PRS market, which is kind of exciting. So there's a lot of Anschutz fans, and the biggest problem people always had translating Anschutz over to PRS NRL Mars type matches was that they were limited to the stocks that Anschutz developed 40 years ago. And so MDT, I think, is releasing an Anschutz chassis this year. And now we've got the Accuracy International. So now you've got a couple of options for Anschutz competitors or people that wanted to shoot Anschutz to actually have a competitive setup versus a competitive rifle with a mediocre stock. Because that was honestly the biggest limiter for Anschutz in modern matches. So that was kind of cool. They're releasing another new chassis or an updated chassis for them for 700 footprints, and I think they're doing a Tika footprint as well. Or no, not Tika, CZ. They're doing a CZ 457, I think, for their other chassis. And kind of like you were saying with the Falcor, like they're all starting to look fairly similar because all the features that everybody wants are starting to get more refined. So it's going to have ARCA, it's going to have the barrel shrouds, it's going to have all the features that everybody wants. But it's Accuracy International, so you're going to have that price point with it as well.
Yeah, and they've always had quality shit, right? I mean, it's always been guys. When they see AI, they think of military. They think of, well, the military picked this for a reason, blah, blah, blah. And AI has always been one of those, companies that's been around forever. Another one that we need to talk about is Wooks. The Wooks chassis. We talked to them for a little while. I know you can't see it back here, but there's a couple 1022s. They have a new Wooks 1022 chassis that I really want to try, because it's been very limited. I mean, you had the Oryx, the KRG, which is on this one, which I'm not that impressed with it, but I want to definitely try one of those Wooks chassis. We're gonna try and get some of those. They've got their axes, they got a whole bunch of stuff, and they've kind of been around. Everybody's seen them, that real classy wood look to them with it looks like a chassis and a wood stock had a baby type thing. They were super good looking, and then they had some really cool looking wood stocks. So it's one of those. What's up, UK? Glad you're joining us. Again, if anybody has any questions, let us have them, and we'll try to answer them as best we can. But yeah, the Wooks chassis, I'm really excited about that. We've got to try some of those. KDEX was one of the other ones we stopped by. We're going to have them on the show here in the next little bit. They've got a new competition setup. I noticed they're going to start sponsoring PRS type shoots, and Robert and the team down there, they build a lot of stuff for military and law enforcement, and now they've kind of come out with this new what is it? More like it's a PRS, long-winded, freaking cool-looking chassis, but wish I had more pictures of it. Of course, we sucked at them. We apologize again. It's what we do. You'd think we would do better. We sucked again. That happens. We'll do better. We're going to do better. We're going to have more episodes. You guys can all quit yelling at me. And then hopefully I want feedback on the short range episodes while we're talking. We released 3 of them so far. All 3 of them are out. They're 15 minutes or less. They're just quick. Us talking about something we saw that week or something else. So if you guys hear those, and I also have had, some complaints about our audio. We are trying to fix that. I've invested a lot more into our audio setups. Jonathan's in BFE, freaking Virginia. Yeah, I don't even want to say what that is. We're on live. But.
Fucking piece of shit mic I bought today.
Oh, hell. Anyway, back to what we were talking about. So KDEX had a really good one. MDT. What did we see at MDT? They've got that new, the new MDT. What is it? The Pro? Is that what they called it? The hell did they call that?
You're putting me on the spot. I can't think of the name. So they've got their new full-size chassis, and then they've got the super lightweight chassis as well. That all carbon.
The HNT, which I've got a couple of those on order because I want to try them. I've heard nothing but good things about those HNTs. The only problem is you can't freaking get them. I've had a couple on order for 4 or 5 months and still haven't seen them. But with anything new, that's how it is. And with anything in the United States and Canada right now, good luck getting anything. But so there was the HNT, which is the ultralight. They came out with new bipods, so a more inexpensive bipod to compete with the B&Ts or the Harrises. Excuse me, not quite Skypod price. That kind of stuff, but and
those were kind of interesting. I like the concept of them. I like what they're trying to accomplish with it, but they had the carbon fiber legs on it, but then the head was still really heavy. So I don't feel like they had that much weight savings for putting carbon fiber legs on it. They also had their reduced weight Skypods. Those were out there as well. So the legs are all fluted, and are they using titanium for those legs, or is it aluminum, or
on the Skypods?
Yeah, the lightweight ones.
I don't know. I think the legs are the same. I think they're just trying to lighten the top
They
part
just
of it.
fluted it, yeah.
Like on their cheaper ones, that's what was the heavy part, right?
Yeah.
Was the actual body itself. And they said they were going to try and change that up.
Yeah.
Yeah, so one of our it looks like John Bailey said the Wux Furiosa is stunning. It is. It's a sweet ass freaking chassis. Looks good.
Yeah. I like the wood stuff, especially the black chassis portion on the brown wood, because it's easy to tell. I hate the black wood with the black chassis because it looks just like a normal chassis. Like you can't tell the difference. I like the gray stained wood or the brown wood. I think that looks awesome. I want the right with that in it.
And they had some other ones. Like they had they had a shotgun, they had all sorts of cool stuff. So if you guys want like something that you're gonna go to the range and grab some attention, definitely go check out the Wilkes stuff because it's sweet. What else? Oh, somebody asked a question. Let's try and go to this. What do you think of the Arkin EP4, EP5 on the waiting list? I'll be honest, I'm a scope snob and I run probably stuff more expensive than I should. I don't know anything about the Arkans personally. Do you know anything about them?
No, I haven't run any of their stuff. I haven't seen a whole lot about them. Scope companies are starting to become fairly prevalent, kind of like we've seen with ARs and everything in the past. As technology's gone up, everyone is starting to put scopes on everything. And so we're getting some newer companies to the market, which is good. I mean, we talked about it at SHOT. There was what was that company? That like we were shocked at how big their booth was, and none of us had ever heard their name before, and they did all optics.
There's Riton. There's
no, it was I think it was a European company.
Oh, right. Yeah, I can't remember what the heck the name of it was.
They had a massive booth. It was like a whole block of SHOT Show.
Was it Leapers?
No, I think they were owned. Was it owned by Leapers?
Leapers has been around forever. I've got one of the originals. But they're cheap. They're ultra cheap. They're like Amazon purchase cheap.
That's them. It looked like it was a mid-tier scope company, but it was just shocking at how big their booth was and how much money they spent for a company that none of us had ever heard of before. And so I think that you're going to get more companies in the optics market now that everybody is buying optics. I mean, you look at 10 years ago, people didn't put optics on every AR they had. Most people shot iron sights. People weren't putting optics on pistols. That was only for space gun USPSA open class. Like now, everybody's putting red dots on. Everybody's putting VLPOs on their ARs. Everybody is putting high-end optics on their bolt guns. So I think with that demand, we're going to get some of these newer companies. And the biggest thing is just making sure they actually upkeep with the quality that we've all kind of come to enjoy from having a few reputable companies in the market. Because you get some guerrilla marketing campaigns from some companies that I won't specifically mention. F1. That just had a bunch of people on Facebook spouting their stuff initially just to get the name out.
Everybody could be a dealer. You sold one, you're a dealer. Good hell.
I felt like it was that scene from Finding Nemo where it was all the seagulls saying mine, except with Athlon dealers. Anybody was like, what scope should I buy? And 19 Athlon dealers showed up.
and we're not bashing Athlon. They might have great scopes. But I think the Arkin, is in that same category. Right? And I'll give you this piece of advice. I don't know that much about the glass, but these are things you need to look at. What are their warranty? What are used ones selling for? Go on Sniper's Hide. Go to places like that. Look and see. Like if they're selling for half the price because people are trying to move them, it's probably one you don't want to invest in. Glass clarity, of course, is hard without ever looking through one. So go, maybe put it in a couple groups what people think about it. You're always going to get different answers because everybody's eyes are different. I honestly tell people if you cannot go look through an optic before you purchase it, I wouldn't try buying it. I'd either try to go to a range. I'd go to the local store. I'd go try and put my eye to glass before I try to purchase that thing because I've seen too many times people get it and they're just completely disappointed with what they got. aka Dave Holmes, with these new Mavens. Dave hates us all because of that. You know, and everybody's like, oh, it's the best piece of glass that you'll ever see in your life and everything else. But it's one
Can you
of
hear
those.
me?
Yeah, I can hear you. It's one of those things. Can you hear me? Is that the question? What are you doing to your phone again? Every time that kid gets on, that's what Marines happen. He saw a crayon, he's chasing it. That happens. But back to what I was saying with the Arkans, just make sure that it's what you want and what you need, and try to look through one before you buy it. If you can't, you just gotta have to roll the dice and roll with it. But it is what it is. Looks like Jonathan disappeared on us. He's playing with his phone again. I don't know what the heck he's doing. At least his audio was decent today, I think. Sounds better anyway. I'm trying to figure out what else we saw at SHOT. We saw all the great stuff from all these great companies. But again, it was one of those things like everybody's got the same damn thing again. Everybody's looks like he's back.
I'm back. Sorry about that. My wife called and then my phone freaked out and completely cut the audio.
Yeah, you tell her you're on the phone with more important people. What the hell? John, so I do want to hit on this. Just John Bailey, he has been commenting a lot. He talked about the for some reason, some of the stuff isn't showing up over in my chats, but I'm seeing it on the Facebook about the Spartan bipods and stuff. Now, there was one on, what was it on? Oh, it was on that. It was on the Falcor, the stock.
Yeah.
And the freaking I breathed on it and it fell off the damn table in the middle of SHOT Show. I'm like, shit, I didn't know, and about broke the gun in half and everything else. I'm sitting there with my eyes wide open, my mouth hit the floor, and I just dropped this expensive gun off this table. But I had one of those. I'm not used to that bipod. I'm not used to something that swivels like that.
And I think it was just it wasn't that the swivel was bad. It had just loosened up from people messing with it all day. And he set the rifle down. And as soon as he set it down, he turned away and it just like maxed out to one side. And it was just heavy enough that it was off weight and just pulled the whole rifle over. It was hilarious to watch happen.
Yeah, good for you. Shit my pants. Thought I was going to freaking buy me a new scope and a new gun and everything. I was like, crap. No, they would have been good. But so what else? Dude, there's more stuff we saw. We're trying to rack our brain. We should have probably.
So the one thing I saw that was really cool, and I put a video up on my Facebook page about it, is from a brand new company. The guy's become a friend of mine. He owns Senex Arms. And so he's come out with a new bullpup design that he came up with. And he's just a crayon-eating recon Marine that's new CAD when he was in high school and came up with a design in his head and kind of brought it to reality. And so he's hoping to have a final materials prototype by the end of the year. But he's essentially come up with a bullpup design that's a little bit more efficient in space than most of the other bullpups, but it uses a lot of AR parts, which is awesome. So it's got a quick change barrel system that uses AR barrels. So if a new barrel caliber comes out, he doesn't have to update anything. You want to switch to 6.5 Grendel 2.0, you just go buy a barrel and put it in. He uses his own barrel nut that slips over a standard AR barrel, uses a modified AR trigger, AR bolt face. So if you want, say a new caliber comes out that's got a AR-15 bolt but has a slightly modified bolt face, you can just throw it straight in, do your own conversion. And so that was kind of his intent behind the design. He's trying to make like a affordable bullpup, since most of the bullpups are in a very different price range than your standard ARs. And so that was kind of cool. He had his like 3D printed prototype at SHOT Show and had a lot of interest from like the industry. I think he had engineers from everybody but Springfield come down and look at it. Springfield and IWI were the only ones that didn't send engineers down to look at it. And he talked to IWI. Springfield didn't even show up to SHOT Show, which is why they didn't show up. So I'm kind of excited for him. I'm excited to see where it goes. But that was kind of a cool product. If all goes according to plan, he should also beat the record for the shortest carbine on the market, or production carbine on the market, which is currently held by SIG for the Rattler, and he should beat them by almost a full inch with a 2-inch longer barrel in his system.
That's interesting. And that's the cool thing about it, is when somebody brings something completely new to the table, that kind of changes everything. But it's not so damn expensive that not everybody can freaking do it, right?
Yeah.
Let's see. I've got some business cards. So another one that I've always liked, Henderson Precision, right?
Okay.
Excuse me. If you prep brass, you've heard of these guys because they've got probably the best trimmer out on the market right now. They've got a lot of different, rails, a lot of different stuff like that. So we did see Henderson Precision. I dig their freaking their cutter. The damn thing is just phenomenal. Yeah, somebody said, did you all play the Aero Bolt actions? We talked about that a little while ago. So rewind. Yeah, Ghost. Innovation's still there. It's just who they let do it. I think a lot of the big guys go in and try to buy out people that try to do it. It's kind of like Ford, GM, and everything, right?
And a lot of the innovation is just kind of what minor update can we do to make it ours. Like, I know I was talking a lot of shit on FN during SHOT Show. Their big release for SHOT Show was the FN High Power, which was released 70 years ago with no updates. Like, it's not optics ready. There's no pick rail, nothing. They made a few minor changes in measurements and released a 70-year-old pistol with Cerakote.
Yeah, we know where Jonathan stands on the hill. Oh, hell. Another one, Teslong. That was one that we stopped by. We were just randomly walking, lost as hell. Stopped by this company called Teslong. They make some phenomenal freaking Boroscope systems that don't break the bank.
Yeah.
And we're going to try and get a group buy on that together. So if somebody wants a freaking just badass Boroscope that's not very expensive, we're going to try and offer that to everybody within the Long Range Tactics group. If you're not in that group, get in the group. I think there's a little over 12,000 people or 20,000 people in there now. So
yeah, that was really cool. For those of you that have been looking for Boroscopes, your options are kind of the cheap Amazon ones that hook up to your phone for like $60 and you get what you pay for. They're not really meant for, some of them are meant for firearms, some of them are meant for plumbing, but they focus close enough to kind of sorta ish use them for firearms. They're really low quality. The apps run into issues. Sometimes they work, but meh. And then your other option is like the $1,000 pro gunsmithing solid shaft Boroscopes, where this one's coming in on a much lower price point. Solid shaft Boroscope comes with its own display system and everything. So you don't even have to hook it up to your phone. The camera hooks straight up to a monitor unit that it comes with. They're really cool and they're super high quality. I think he said it was 1080p quality. And they do a 90-degree angle as well, like mirrored angle as well. So you're not looking down the barrel, you're looking at the lands and grooves. And then if you want to look down the barrel, you can pull that off. So that's a cool feature with them as well.
Yeah, when I used to check barrels, I had the Hawkeyes. And the Hawkeyes are awesome, but they are over $1,000. And you still have to buy the adapter if you ever want to record. These come with all that. He's got a pistol length one, and then they extend to rifle length. Super impressed with it. As many barrels as I've looked at over the years, especially when you're trying to check, if your gas port's lined up, you're trying to check your rifle lands and grooves. You're trying to check any of that with a 90-degree. It was super clear. I mean, really impressed with it. So yeah, we are going to try and do that. Another one was the Mac Brothers Actions. I stopped by their booth for a minute.
I think I saw that one.
They've built suppressors for a while. They've got a really expensive titanium action. I think it's like $1,600 or something. But they also have some really inexpensive actions in that $600 range, $600 to $700 range.
Okay.
That if somebody wants, an action that isn't a 700, but is, custom, quote unquote custom. These Mac Brothers actions are pretty good. And I can't remember. They had a version that was a one-piece rail with the action, but I think most of them were screw-on because, I mean, if you're going to get a one-piece action with rail, it's expensive. I mean, all the prices go through the roof. But for the price, for somebody that just wants to go out there and build a, semi-custom rifle or something, check out the Mac Brothers actions. They were pretty good. One thing that I want to work on, we all do dry fire. I found a system there that I sat down and talked with the owners. This is a reactive system. It'll connect to a bolt action rifle, and it'll actually give you a laser. So you set up the laser, you can set it up 25 feet, you can set it up at 100 yards, you can set it up all over the place, and then it gives you feedback on a direction on this laser that you aim at. So it takes dry firing off barricades and everything else to a whole new freaking level. I'm excited to play with it. Maybe we can, try and push some of that out as we get it, because I really want to work with these guys because dry fires help me out so freaking much. It's not even funny. Another one, Seekins Precision. Seekins came out with a new chassis rifle. I'll be 100% honest. I wasn't that impressed with the chassis. I think there were definitely some changes that could have been done. I think they're going in the right direction because there is a market there. Seekins has done really good with their hit rifle, which is a lightweight fluted barrel with their action and everything. So they've done a lot of good things there in the long range game. Of course, everybody knows Seekins for their ARs. They have a lifetime warranty on them, which is pretty sweet. That doesn't
including the barrel life.
Yeah, of course that goes out. But so they've got a lifetime warranty on everything. If the cool thing is the way Glenn put it, if you burn your house down and the gun is ruined, we will replace it. So there's not very many of those in the industry that would do something like that. So
and that's one of those things. You brought up warranty earlier when we were talking about scopes, and every time the scope debate comes up, people talk shit on, I'd rather a scope with no warranty, but I never needed it, than a scope with a baller warranty, but I need it every 2 weeks. And yes, that's true to an extent. The problem is those baller scopes that have no warranties don't factor in the human factor. I mean, house burns down. You go to Night Force, they're going to say, yeah, we'll send you a new scope. What's your credit card information? Right? Vortex doesn't. You send them back the charred husk, they send you a new scope. No questions asked. They just want to know if they can put pictures up on social media. That's all they care about. Right? I've heard of guys run over their scopes with ATVs on hunting trips because they weren't paying attention, rested their rifle on the tire of their ATV and forgot about it. Or their buddy rested his rifle on the ATV tire and they went to move it. Like dumb shit like that happens. Like we're all human. Rifles fall out of tree stands. Crossbows fall out of tree stands with scopes on them. Like all that stuff. So you can have the world's best scope that never needs the warranty until you need the warranty. And if you bought that scope that the manufacturer quality control is so perfect that they don't even have one and you paid the extra money to not have one, doesn't do you a whole lot of good when you screw it up. So it's definitely something to consider when you've got a company, especially from a rifle side, willing to warranty it no matter what. Again, we talked about it earlier with the Falcor actions. Someone puts pistol powder in a rifle cartridge, blows up their action. Go send it in a Seekins, they send you a new one. Can we take pictures, put it up on the Facebook page?
Yep.
Okay. You do that to a boring, you do that to any of the other super high-end actions, they're going to ask you for your credit card information. You blew it up.
Yeah. And there are some companies out there that will, if you know them well enough, they'll just say, no questions asked. I know Kelbley's has done it, and I know Impact's done it. Just depending on how good of a customer are and everything else. I've heard stories about Kelbley's guys blow shit up and go to buy another one. And they're like, no, we got you. We'll take care of you. But that's understanding who you're buying product from as well. Right? And buying into the people and the brand and not the product.
Yeah.
Right. Ghost asked your thoughts on suppressor versus brake for competition. Huron's probably the 419 Hellfire, I'm guessing. Is there a competitive advantage to either one? No. Not in my opinion. I've ran both through. The only difference between suppressor and brake is, people worry about a suppressor coming loose depending on if it's direct thread, if it's E-mount, whatever mount system it is. You could have the best of both worlds and get that Area 419. I can't remember what it's called. But it's like a suppressor / brake system. And I've seen people use it, but most of the time people just want to run a brake. You want to get rid of as many variables. The other issue with throwing a suppressor on there is you're understandably a lot longer now, right? So trying to run a 26-inch barrel with a 6-inch brake on the end of it through barricades is arguably a lot harder too. So, I've shot a couple cylindrical quiet riots. I've shot stuff with suppressors quite a few times, and I love suppressors. Absolutely love them. Love them hunting. I'll never hunt again without a suppressor. But when it comes to tactical stuff, it just seems like everybody would rather run a brake. And suppressors do mitigate recoil, but I don't think as good as some of these brakes. I mean, they do give you a headache after a while, depending on where you're at. But I definitely think a brake would probably run better. Now, I know some people complain about a POI shift with running a suppressor. My heavy ass barrels on my comp guns, I found out that it doesn't adjust POI at all because my barrels are so damn big. I shot my GT in a match, screwed my silencer coil onto it, and it didn't change POI at all, just because the way that it was in the chassis and how heavy my barrel is. But you thread a suppressor on a lighter barrel, of course it's going to change POI. That's why they make tuners and stuff, because it does mess with it a little bit. But so hopefully that answered your question, as I went off on another freaking tangent like I always do. But what else? Anything else before we end? Cool shit from SHOT Show. What the hell else did we see? It seems like I'm missing something. I don't know what it is.
I mean, there was a lot of stuff that came out, but there really wasn't that much revolutionary that I saw. I mean, yeah, there was all the new AR companies, suppressor companies, soft goods companies. There was all kind of a dime a dozen. SHOT Show was kind of weird this year, kind of like what you said. A bunch of vendors canceled, didn't even show up. It was nice for me being that random asshole that's just like walking around trying to see shit, because I didn't have to wait for a half hour to see anything new and talk to people and then feel bad because I was talking to a sales rep and I'm not going to buy like 15 of these new whatever things to put in my gun shop. So that was kind of nice from my perspective. But I felt bad for some of the vendors that dropped all this money, and then there was like 40% as many attendants as normal. But yeah, I just feel like there wasn't a whole lot of new stuff at SHOT Show this year, just because the attendance was so low and everyone knew it was going to be low.
Well, and I think a lot of companies now are releasing their stuff. They had 40,000 people sign up or whatever. We know all of them show up, but we know how a lot of our email lists are now, right? There's couple 100,000 people on an email list.
Yeah.
A lot of people recently have been releasing stuff at NRA show and other shows. Mm-hmm. So we're definitely going to see, other stuff coming out over time. But yeah, out of all the years that I've been to SHOT Show, this year was definitely easier for me to talk to people. The meetings weren't as crazy, and it was just nicer. It was nicer to get around. Oh, HS was another. HS Precision came out with I think they came out the last year, but they're trying to make up for everything. They're like everybody else right now. No one can get freaking products to push out. So it's just a pain in the ass to sell.
And I think that's part of it too, with the innovations aspect of it for this year, is everyone's been struggling to keep up with demand for their standard products. It's more difficult to do prototypes and testing and all that when you can barely get materials for your normal everyday products. And so I think that kind of played into people not releasing new stuff this year. Was they had so much downtime last year where factories were closed and people weren't working and stuff like that. That would have been that normal R&D testing phase. And so that all got pushed to 2021. So most of those products aren't even finished yet. And that's if they can even get the materials to do it. Mm-hmm. So I think that kind of plays into it a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. New stuff coming out. I want to just hit on a couple things real quick. In the long range tactics group, I put out a note about maybe doing some live sessions in there to where we can do Q&As. There's so many freaking questions coming out on there right now. We cannot keep up with them. And there's a lot of misinformation. And one of the things that we as Long Range Tactics, Long Range Addicts podcast has talked about this year is trying to combat the misinformation even more, with us just coming in and saying, look, we either talk about it here on the podcast, we talk about it in the short range episodes, or we want to go on the group and just talk one-on-one live to people. We want to educate people better. Saves you money, saves you time. We wish people would have done it for us when we were at that point. So much bullshit is going on with some of that. And guess what? We will be the first freaking people to tell you we have no idea. Don't know. Yeah. We're not going to fluff it. We're not going to feed you full of bullshit. We'll just tell you straight up, don't know. But let's figure out a way to figure it out. Maybe we bring on somebody from Archon Optics. Maybe we bring on somebody from Athlon. We bring on some of these people. It's just, we're going to try and do all this to better this year. So 2022, we're going to combat the misinformation on social media. We're going to do our best. We want to grow. Please go on. One of the big things that's going to help me is go on the podcast pages and review this. If you like to listen to it, I'm not going to tell you to give me 5 stars. I'm going to tell you to give us whatever stars you think it is. More people reviewing it, we appreciate it. We're going to try and do more giveaways. I'm going to try and do more episodes. We're just going to try and bullshit. If you've got ideas for us, if you want to hear more about a certain subject, of course, let's talk about it, whether it be suppressors or whatever. The podcast has grown great. I've sucked at being consistent. So we're going to try and be a little bit more consistent. And we're going to do some more trainings and everything, but I appreciate you all for joining. Hopefully we hit on the main stuff that we saw shot. And of course we'll be talking about more as we go. If we see more stuff, watch for the short ranges. It'll be just, quick information, 15 minutes or less. But anything in closing, John?
No, I don't think so. Actually, one thing. So if you guys saw anything on different Instagram accounts at SHOT Show or whatever that you're interested in or you want to see a review in, send it to us. Let us know. Send a message to the company saying, hey, we want Long Range Tactics to review it, just so that we can get more information out to kind of help everybody, right? They're not going to send free products to everybody, but hopefully we can get something that helps you guys kind of make a decision, see benefits, disadvantage to one thing over another, so that we can help everybody progress on their long range journey.
Right. Okay. Thanks, man. I appreciate it as always. And until next week, hopefully we'll have a better show, some more stuff planned, and then we'll do some short ranges in the meantime. And the short ranges do release on Fridays. So there should be another one maybe coming out tomorrow. If not, it'll come out next week. But watch for the short ranges as well. Thanks, everybody. Hopefully you have a great weekend.
Don't be afraid to pipe up. Send us your questions or topics and we'll cover them on the show. Thanks for listening.